research report writing. Of course, we the teaching fraternity, we should contribute something to the academics. That is the intention. Of course, I am not a master on this issue, but my humble thought, normally we should create or we should contribute something to the academics where we are in teaching field. With that respect, I just want to interact with you because most of our teachers still they are not thinking about the publication. Of course, some teachers already in that, particularly those who are having more contact with the department. I mean, not only our department, with their university departments, most of them, in some extent, they are thinking about this concept. At the same time, already they may publish also. But in some extent, where we go through their articles, even though they are not having clear flow or clear format to follow, with that view, I think it is better to have some discussion with you where we have some contents to consider for developing article. With that respect, normally, when I am thinking that research methodology, we should go on whatever the process or procedure or steps to follow. But that is very much important. With that respect, here I have one slide that is when I consider this first one, see this, in what way we have to follow the flow, whether it is thesis or article or book or even any conceptual frame. When I think on that, why not go through like this way? With that view, here I am presenting one slide to you. Just go through that. Anybody, if any, comment on that, please share it without having any fear. I hope you are seeing it. There, just you go through that. Whichever the content is in order, it is not proper. Suppose if you find like that, please tell me. I hope my voice is very clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please. Any comment on this? Just you go through that. There, suppose if you find, yeah. Any observations which is not right or which is wrong, suppose if you think on that, please share with me. Because we should know in what way I have to start and in what way I'm going to finish. If we know very clearly, then it's very easy to develop any article or a thesis or any project or even any book also. No one is having any objection or any comment or any argument. Hello. ಊಟ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಿದ್ರೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ.
No, sir, we are going through it, sir.
Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, come on.
Sir, this literature review, you have included in the introduction part, sir.
Yes.
Is it which literature review, sir? Second lesson is also literature review is there. So is there any between these two, sir?
Yeah. Here, where you go for developing your synopsis, you go for developing your synopsis or epitomic note, we are calling also epitomic note, where we have like that, on what base you have taken this topic as a research. For that, you have to defend in some extent a few literature. That is the base. after you are going to give in detail in the second chapter. See, normally we are going to say conceptual framework of your topic. That is the second chapter. If you have theoretical framework, there you have to include literature review also separate. If you have conceptual framework, then it is included. It is included in the theory, literature as well as theory.
Second chapter.
Yeah, second chapter, where you go for developing second chapter, there you are going to give in detail. In synopsis, you are going to give in brief. Hope you are getting.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Any other?
Sir, research gap after the detailed literature review, don't we mention there what was the objective of literature review, what was the methodology adopted, how many theses, how many books were reviewed, and then what research gap we understood, and based on that, will we not take like that in the second this one, or should we take it in the first chapter only?
This is first chapter. Whatever I have given in the introduction, you know.
Yes, sir.
That is the first chapter. Okay.
So in the second chapter, what literature review we will do, and how do we
chapter, whatever the literature, whatever the literature you have reviewed, you know, whatever the literature you have reviewed for developing the thesis or project, there you are going to mention in detail. That is the thing I am going to said already. Here,
so we are just mentioning there. We are just mentioning there, and gap and this one we are mentioning in the first chapter only.
Gap is possible for to develop research problem.
Okay.
Okay. Gap is the base for developing your research problem through the research questions.
Right.
Through the research questions. Okay. Right. So the research gap, first you are going to consider in your the first whatever the synopsis you are going to develop related to your whole work, you know, there you are going to highlight. The literature is based on to identify the research gap.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Then any other? That too, you know that where you think of that research gap, first you have to analyze what type of research gap you have considered, whether it is evidence gap, or whether it is knowledge gap, or whether it is practical knowledge gap, or is there any related with the empirical gap or methodological gap or population gap or theoretical gap or conceptual gap. Like that, you have to highlight first. Okay. Through that, whichever the concept or issue is not covered fully, even is there any gap in that, why that gap is happened, that is you are going to highlight through the research questions. So then you are going to develop the problem. Okay. This is a glimpse related to your work. Later you are going to give in detail. Okay. Yeah. Any other doubt? Any other arguments?
Sir, excuse sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, this research questions and research objectives. There in the first, sir, introduction part. So, is there any connection between these two, sir?
Yes, definitely we have. Whatever the questions you are going to raise, you know, that is your problem. For that, you are going to find the solutions. How you are going to find the solutions, that you are going to develop it through the objectives. So whatever the questions you have raised, you know, that is your study objectives most of the moment. Yes, you are right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any other? Any other? Please raise your voice, because you should understand very clearly. There only it is possible to develop your article very easily. Otherwise, again and again, you have some confusions. Any other doubts? Now, shall I move one by one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me think. The first, normally here I have given the research topic. Whenever we are thinking about developing any article or any research topic or any project work, most of the moment in which field or in which area, on which topic I have to start. So that is very much important to think and thinking seriously. That is the thing very important. So for that here, I am giving very little bit information. I am not go through in detail because if I want to cover all the contents in 1 hour session, it is not possible. So with that way here, I am just giving a brief idea on that. So where you go for developing or deciding about your topic, that should have one abbreviation that is FINER, FINER. FINER is, suppose if you go for expanding, that is one content, one letter says feasible, another one says interesting, one more is novel, one more is ethical, and last one is viable. So that is the thing you have to consider. Then that topic must be interest. It should have some interest. That interest is not with your opponent side. First, you have interest within you. Where you have that interest within you, there only it is possible to do very easily. Otherwise, it is not possible. ನಿಮಗೆ ಆ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಆ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಕೆಲವು ಸಂದರ್ಭಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರು ತುಂಬಾ ಹೊರಗಡೆಯವ್ರು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದಾರಾ?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಸರ್.
Is there any
There are some
outsiders?
people, sir. There
ಅಲ್ಲ,
are some
all
people, sir.
all are Karnataka or ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರು ಇದ್ರೆ ಪಾಪ ಅವರು ತೊಂದರೆ
Yes,
ಆಗ್ಬೋದು.
sir. Yes, sir. There are from, I think there are from Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh.
Maharashtra.
and all.
Okay. Then I
Yes,
think
sir.
it is better to speak in English only. So in some extent, I can speak Kannada also because that will reach very clearly. Yeah, most of the moment where we choose any topic, sometimes by the cause of our guide or supervisor, whatever they suggested, according to that, we are going to start the topic. At that moment, sometimes it is not possible to understand very clearly. Here I have one example. One of our, I just quoting here. One of our professor is thinking on that weather derivatives. His focused area is weather derivatives. Whenever he get any scholars, he is highly insisting to do on only that issue. But most of our scholars not having any idea on that weather derivative. At that moment, they are suffering. So that should not be. At the same time, sometimes accounting or financing, some persons are highly strict with some concepts, accounting standards, for example. AS1, AS2, AS3, like that, we are having 34. All scholars are doing only AS1, AS2, AS3, AS4, AS5, like that way. So I think there is no, interest in that. So that is the reason we should have some interest on that also. The novel means new. It must be a new issue. It must be modern. It must be very interest, that is attract. So there only it is possible to do the any work very easily. At the same time, ethical. This is very much important because when we have any research activity, we should think on ethical base. Most of the moment, we the people, normally we are doing same mistakes. I think everyone maybe accept it because without having any reference, it is not possible to create any idea or it is not possible to create any thinking process. So with that view, we are going to practice in some extent at the unethical way also. I hope you maybe agree with me. ಹೌದಲ್ವಾ? ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಂದರ್ಭಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಯಾರ್ದೋ ಎತ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ದೇ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ. Is it not? So that is the way here we are going to consider. That's why it should not be. Whoever they have found or they have interpreted or they have claimed, so we should accept it. We should give their position. So then only I think we may under ethical way. So the last one is relevant. This is again also very much important. Whatever the concepts you are going to develop or coin or investigate, that should be acceptable. That should be executed. So that is the thinking. That is the way here we are going to consider. That is where you selecting any topic, that should be have one abbreviational form that is FINER. So that is the thing here I just want to share with you. So when you consider this topic, most of the movement, everyone is not having any idea on that. So at that moment, they have to consider the sources where that the topic will be available, in what way I'm going to get that topic, or in what way I'm going to start that issue, or by whom or with whom. So that is very much important. So there I think it's very easy because we are the teaching fraternity So most of the moment we are having more contact with the teachers itself. At the same time, everyone is having their own familiar teacher or their own, what we can say, guide or model or icon or whatever. So at that moment, we should have like this, the sources. The one thing is discussion with faculty. Yes, faculty, maybe my junior or maybe my senior or maybe my colleague. It's not a matter of age. It's a matter of just sharing the ideas or sharing the thoughts. So where you have like that way of discussion, definitely you can get it a very good idea from them also. Whatever you have in your mind is not enough. So where you share, there only it is possible to correct the thing. Sometimes it may be more than that or less than that. That is not the matter. First, we have to consider to share. Where you share the thoughts, then it is possible to tune the thought. That is the thing here you can discuss with your faculty as well as faculty ongoing projects. Some faculties are having some projects already they may get by UGC or ICSSR like that. So they may already in that. Particularly the science faculties are having more like this way of working. But even in commerce also we may. So in some extent we may consider in a different branches or in different wings or in different aspects. So at that moment, suppose if you discuss with them, there I think you can consider, for example, microfinance, one issue, you just take it. Microfinance, it's just one view, that is financial inclusion. Financial inclusion for whom? Maybe a woman or maybe a man or maybe a farmers or maybe a student, like that you may consider different wings. So at that moment, you can think on that also. So that is the way here you can suppose join with the any faculty, those who are doing already some projects. At that moment, you can think on your own also. The same way, the previous students' projects, even here you may consider that is literature review. So the student projects, as of course, those who are teaching master's course, so most of the students are doing some projects. There you may guide also for them. At that moment, you may give some topics in what way the topic is feasible, because every research scholar where they go for their research work, they should start with some pilot study. The pilot study, so that is support to whether that topic is feasible or not. So with that view, suppose if you have students, those who are doing project work, so you can apply this pilot study through them. So there, I think you can get it whether the project is possible or it is workable or it is acceptable. In that way, you can think it. Likewise, we have peer-reviewed journals. So this can also, most of the moment, every teacher is asking for where they are facing their promotional activities. At that moment, they may face like this problem. What are your publications? That is the question. So at that moment, so where you have published, whether it is peer reviewed, whether it is blind reviewed, whether it is the Scopus or UGC Care or Web of Science or ABDC, like that they are going to ask. So at that moment, you may be surprised. What is this? Peer reviewed means what? Blind review means what? Scopus means what? Web of Science means what? Like this, you may have some questions in your mind. So yes, of course, we have, because peer reviewed or blind reviewed means there they are going to consider your article very seriously to review or examine. So at that moment, they may consider whatever your thoughts or ideas you have developed, on that they may give some suggestions or corrections, or even some in some extent they may also share their ideas also. This is very much, I think, very useful for you. So for that, I think it is better to consider that peer-reviewed journals also. That this process normally we are going to consider in our literature review process. Another one, that is personal experiences. Yes, this can also one of the important, but this is possible where you have with you 5 W's and 1 H. Hope you known that. What is that 5 W's and 1 H? Can I? Anybody is to say that what is that 5 W and 1 H?
What, why,
Good.
when,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
how.
What, why, when, why, what, when, why, where, and how.
How? What, why, where, when, whom.
How.
isn't it? And how one H,
Yes.
where you have all these with you as your friends, you know, there only it is possible to think in a different. You may be a creative or you may be a dynamic. Otherwise, there is nothing in your mind. You should have that 5 Ws and 1 H, you know, that will create some experience, that will give you some experience. With that, you can think on that. For example, you maybe watch something to in your environment. There, for example, you may be living in the village. There you may find some problems of farmers, particularly with the economic condition or financial condition. At that moment, you think, why not these people are getting loans from the banks or loans from the any financial institutions. At that moment, you can work on what it may be the problem between these bankers as well as these problems, because every farmer is not possible to get very easily a loan from the banks. There are some certain conditions. So for that, you may have think on that, because of even in your family may also have some farming activity. There your, the siblings or parents maybe face like this problem. At that moment, you can do some research or you can do some or develop some articles. This is possible. So likewise, we have existing literature. You know that where if anybody, any scholar submitted their thesis, they have one content at the end, that is scope for further research. So that is existing literature give some ideas to continue the same topic. So that is also one of the source where you considered or where you are thinking about any article to develop. So at that moment, the research topic is very easily, you can get it through these sources. Hope you're getting this. So now just we can think it, the another content like that is introduction. Introduction. Here we have some words related to that. Introduction, preamble, prelude, prologue, preface, forward, lead-in, overture, line-in. Like that, there are so many words to consider where we go for developing any beginning words or a sentence or a paragraph or phrase. What actually these words are different from one to another. If you share with me, there I can join you to share my thoughts also. Introduction, normally we know that it is the beginning. But why we are going to use the word preamble or prelude or prologue or preface or forward or lead-in or overture or line-in? So just you share with me in what way we have like this way of words to use, what actually the concept behind it. Can you? If I am speaking alone or on my own, you know, I am not sure with whether you are with me or not. Suppose if you share something with me, there I think I may also very active. Yeah, come on. What actually, why we are going to use? Yeah, share it, be free. Preamble means synopsis.
In short.
In short, okay. Any other idea? Yeah, share it.
Summarizing, something like that.
Okay, then prelude.
It prepares the readers for the content that's going to come ahead.
Good, you are in that. So then,
Prelude is something on which the later part of the work is dependent.
Prologue.
Yes. Prologue.
First, you think on that. All these words are similar.
Somewhere here and there.
Have you seen? Yeah, have you seen these words?
Yes, sir.
It's the beginning itself, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
that's why I'm asking why we are going to use like this way. In what way I have to start my article? That is very much important. You know that where we go for developing any article, first we are going to give abstract. What is
that?
Most
of this in books and novels and
everywhere, whichever.
So this
That's why
helps us to get the background of our research work.
It's a gateway.
It's a gateway.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you are right. But each word says what? Any example on that? Now I just quoted that abstract. Abstract that is related to preamble or prelude or prologue or preface or what?
Preamble, sir.
Preamble.
I think so, sir.
Yes,
Ah.
sir.
Any
Should
other
be
idea?
preamble.
You know that some persons are using where they start for their writing itself. First, they are going to write Raghavendraya Namaha, Panchamataya Namaha, Om Namah Shivaya. I hope you may be aware of. Or
Yes,
some
sir.
persons are giving some quotations. Some genius or experts
sir.
quote the whatever they said it, you know, the dialogue they are going to mention. After that, they are going to start the concept. Hope you, I think you may be seen it. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Can we say that is preamble?
Welcome message, sir.
Welcome message.
It's a
Welcome
blessing
message
message,
means,
sir.
huh?
For the purpose of conservations.
Yeah. That is the thing. Concentrating, the concentration. The analogy, I think you may be aware of that word analogy. Beating around the bush. Analogy. Are you aware of that word analogy?
Sir,
Yeah, analogy. We have analogy where we go for writing anything, you know, we should not go directly with the issue. We should give some ideas to.
Sir.
Yeah, please.
I'm thinking so these words are are similar meanings.
Not similar. Similar means it's not a synonym. It's not a synonym. It's
Yeah.
similar means in some extent it may be a different. See,
Okay.
just I am going to put the example. See, you may have one article or diary periodicals, you are going to see it, you know. Periodicals, headline is there. That is the title, isn't it? After that, you are going to have some bold letters separately within one box or within underline. Is it not? Have you seen it? So most of the
Yes, sir.
moment, even
Yes, sir.
every newspaper is also having like that, isn't it? Or some magazines. In magazines, first they are going to give some dialogue, or they are going to give some para. After that, they are going to start. Or even middle of the page. In middle of the page, they are going to provide the one space for some dialogue, a space for some, a sentence. Is it not? These are all related to like this way of in what way you are going to start and how you are going to attract. That is very much important. I think a movie, for example, you just considered that film, movies. So there you know that first they are going to show the climax. After that, they are going to start the beginning. At the end, they are going to connect with that. Have you seen like that way? Am I right? At least.
Yes, sir. That is prelude, no, sir?
Yeah,
No,
that's
sir.
why I'm just I'm
Yeah.
just focusing on you in what way you are going to consider why each word to that. Prologue means where you have between the page, they are going to provide one space, you know, for having some dialogue or for having some recalling that previous issue like that. That is prologue. Okay. Preface, you know that most of the moment some books are having like that, isn't it? Preface or foreword. Leading, in what way this concept is to, focused or analyze or communicate. That is the thing you are going to say. Okay. Prelude means most of the movement we are going to give that newspapers they are giving, you know, in some extent some hints. That is the thing. Preamble means analogy. So they are not starting immediately everything to directly. So first they are going to highlight the situation or highlight the reason or highlight the consequences, then why this thing is happening. In that way, they are going to start their issue. So like this way, first we have to understand where we go for developing any introduction part. Introduction part is not so easy to start whatever you are going to think. I think just you think on your, what we can say that college life, where you are thinking about that concept of love. Most of the moment, I think ಒಂದು ಅಡಲ್ಟ್ ಏಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಬೆಳೆದಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಹುಟ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅನುಭವಿಸಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಲವ್ ಲೆಟರ್ಸ್ ಬರೀತಾರಲ್ಲ, ನೆನಪಿದ್ಯಾ? ಮಾತನಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಆ ತರ? ಹಲೋ, ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
ಅಲ್ಲ,
sir.
ಯಾರು
Yes.
ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್
Yes,
ಆಗೇ
sir.
ಇಲ್ವಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ, ಮಾತನಾಡಿ.
Yes, sir.
ಈಗ ನೀವು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು
Yes, sir.
ಲವ್ ಲೆಟರ್ ಬರೆಯುವಾಗ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಒದ್ದಾಡಿರ್ತೀರಿ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಕೆಲವರು. ಯಾವ
ಹೌದು
ರೀತಿ
sir.
ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ವಾ? ನನ್ನ ಒಲವಿನ ಅಂತನ, ಇಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಅಂತನ, ಇಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಮುದ್ದು ಅಂತನ, ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ಒದ್ದಾಟ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಪ್ರಿಯಾಂಬಲ್. ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ? ಒಪ್ಕೋತೀರಾ? ಒಪ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೇಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಯಾಕೋ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಆತರ, ಅಥವಾ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳಕ್ ನಾಚ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರೇನು? ಹಾ, ಓಕೆನಾ? So why I am going to quote these all, the thing, of course, most of the movement we are going to consider that word introduction is a common word. So there is no need to think on all other preamble yakbeku, prelude yakbeku, prologue yakbeku anta ankobodu. But if you understand very clearly, then we can consider each paragraph is having some connectivity, is having some flow, is having some curiosity. So there it is very easy to understand. So the paragraph where you go for developing any issues related to your topic, that paragraph must attract. That paragraph must clear with the flow. There only it is possible. So for that you have to understand all these things. Then I think your article maybe have very good flow. So for this we need to have to acquire knowledge more and more. How you are going to acquire the knowledge? Through literature review. So this is very much important here. So how you are going to consider literature review? Where you are going to search this literature and how you are going to review on your topic. So that is must. So here you should have some questions with you. Some of the questions the review of the literature can answer. So with that here, first you consider what are the key sources. Then what are the major issues and debates about the topic? Then what are the political standpoints? What are the origins and the definitions of the topic? Then what are the key theories, concepts, and ideas? Then what are the epistemological and ontological grounds for the discipline? How is knowledge on the topic structured and organized? What are the main questions and problems that have been addressed to data? So these are the things overall you can consider how have approaches to these questions increased our understanding and knowledge. If you have any I think doubts on these questions, or if you are not understanding any questions, you can ask. ಕೇಳ್ತೀರಾ? ಏನು ಡೌಟ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ರೆ ಅಕಸ್ಮಾತ್ ಏನ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗದೆ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಇದೇನೋ ಆಂಟಾಲಜಿ, ಎಪಿಸ್ಟಾಮಲಜಿ ಆ ತರ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಕೇಳಿದಿರಾ ಹಿಂದೆ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ? ಆಂಟಾಲಜಿ, ಎಪಿಸ್ಟಾಮಲಜಿ. Are you aware of that word? What are the epistemological and ontological grounds for the discipline? Can you have
No,
any
sir.
idea on that?
No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah, we known, but we are not known the terminology related to that. Terminology, that's all. See, sometimes you know that by having nature, we know something. By having our environment, we come to know something. By having our family, we may understand something. Is it not? By nature, where you understand something, that is ontology. Are you understanding? By having some nature. For example, just you consider that snakes, if the snakes are biting, what will happen? Snakes are bite. ಹಾವು ಕಚ್ಚಿದರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತದೆ?
It's their nature, sir. It will
Spread to our body. Poison
ಇದೆ, ನಾವು ಸತ್ತೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಭಯ ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ?
Yes, yes.
ಆದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಹಾವುಗಳಿಂದನೂ ಸಾವು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದಿಲ್ಲ.
No.
All snakes are not dangerous, alwa? But what actually our knowledge related to that? Every snake is a very dangerous anta ankonbittidini. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is ontology. So by having your knowledge in some extent, sometimes we may have some idea, or we may have some practice or customs or traditions or any belief or any what we can say that some values. So there also you may have your own knowledge related to that. ಈಗ customs ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. ಏನು
ದಿನ ಮನೆಗೆ ಒಳಕ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಕಾಲ್ ತೊಳಿಬೇಕು, ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ನಾನ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಆತರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಆರ್ ಯು ಅವೇರ್ ಆಫ್? ಅಟ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ದಿನ ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಹಲ್ಲು ಉಜ್ಜಬೇಕು,
Yes, sir. Yes,
ಅದಲ್ವಾ?
yes,
ದಿನ
sir.
ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಹಲ್ಲು ಉಜ್ಜಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ?
Yes.
ಬ್ರಷ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಕೆಲವರು 2 ಸತಿ ಉಜ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಾರೆ, ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ರಾತ್ರಿ. ಕೆಲವರು ಉಜ್ಜದೇ ಇದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತಾನು ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ನಾಟ್?
Yes,
ಅಲ್ವಾ?
sir.
ಅದು ಅವ್ರ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್
Yes.
ಅದು. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಉಜ್ಜದೇ ಇದ್ರೆ ಏನಂತ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿನಲ್ಲೂ ಇರ್ತದೆ. Isn't it? So this is also very much important to understand. What actually I am going to say, where you go for any literature, there first you have to understand on what ground I have to understand these concepts. So there are so many. For example, even in our human behavior, for example, I mean HR, human resources management or human resources development, there we may have some psychological issues, isn't it? Psychological issues are not easy to understand very clearly or very confidently, that you know that. ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲೇನೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇನೆ ಕೆಲವು ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಗಳು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಡೈಲಿ ಹಾಯ್ ಅಂತಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಡೈಲಿ ನಮ್ ಜೊತೆ ಕಾಫಿ ಕುಡಿತಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೂ ಭಾಗಿಯಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನ ಅವರು ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರಲ್ಲ. ಆಮ್ ಐ ರೈಟ್? ಆರ್ ನೀವು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನ ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರಲ್ಲ. Is it not?
Yes.
These are all for what? So these are all for have some fear or have some phobia. So this is the thing. I mean, what actually here I am going to say, where you go with any literature, so there you have to understand very clearly in what way I am going to understand this concept and how I am going to clearly define. So if you understood well, you know, there only it is possible to develop some questions or develop some research gap. Otherwise, it is not possible. So with that view, you should consider very seriously that literature. Nowadays, I think you are so lucky, or even I am also. When I was as a student, you know, at that moment, really, I am so unlucky because I am not having like this way of sources. But now we are having n number of sources, because if we touch our thumb into the screen, you know, we can get it anything. Packs together, close together, it is possible to get the sources, the literature information. But at that moment, it was not. Now we are so lucky to have with that here thinking process very lengthy. So there you have to think again and again, where you considered any issue or any topic to start to write a article. So that is the thing here I am just saying. So what actually the purpose we need to consider it under literature review. So one thing is a time, a good knowledge of the field of inquiry. So whatever the facts or events or moments or any scholars' contributions, according to that, we are going to think on a good knowledge or get on or acquire good knowledge. Another one, the methodologies, which is common to the field. So that is also very much important, where we go for analyzing the interpretations. Most of our scholars are thinking differently. So they should work very seriously. They should work very, differently. So far that they are going to apply different tools on that. I think it's not necessary in some extent. So, but most of the scholars are, because now we are going to say scientific method of research. So that's why they are thinking different tools to apply. But where that method is suitable, where that method is applicable, I think it is better to go with that only. That is the thing we can understand very clearly. Most of the moment I am going to tell our scholars, where you go for literature review, first you have to develop a column-wise information. I mean, where you review any literature, first you have to develop what is the objective or what is the hypothesis. So then, what is the the methodology they have applied? What are the findings they have found or they have stated? So that is the thing. First, if you put in order, you know, you can understand very clearly one to another. What is the difference or what is the common thing? In that way, you can understand very clearly what methodology applied for, on what type of objective or on what type of hypothesis. That is the thing they can understand very clearly. So likewise, proposed research is really needed. That is, you have to think very seriously. When you consider that research work, if you have in your mind to start,
first, is it required? Is it really needed? So there only you should start or you should develop. Otherwise, leave it. Helps to narrow a problem. Yes, here where you think of that research activity, we are having two wings. One is inductive, another one is deductive. So which you have to consider, because inductive, that is micro, macro. Deductive means that is micro. So where you think of that micro, that will very useful. Macro, that is possible. In some extent, we can give in general, but micro is a narrow. So that is the thing first we have to focus. Then likewise, generation of hypotheses or research questions or any questions for further studies, that can also very much important. Based on your knowledge, in what way you have acquired the knowledge, according to that only your idea will generate. So hypothesis means assumptions or any, you can guess. So that is the thing here you have to consider. Likewise, commence a long-term study of interest. Yes. So the article or research, thesis or any project that should have some depth knowledge. There only it is possible to expand the work. Otherwise, it is not possible. So with this, I think it is better to consider the literature review is also one of the important where you go for developing your article. That is the thing. So for that, here we need to follow some tips. Where you consider that literature review, you should have some organization. You should have some organization. So that is the thing. In what way you have to consider that organizational schemes? One is topical order. Topics where you develop that. See, most of the moment we are going to consider topic, I think it's very difficult to understand. It's a very vague also where you consider the title. So title like, for example, microfinance, hyphen, women empowerment, that can also possible. Microfinance, hyphen, women empowerment, colon, a study. This can also possible. Or women empowerment through microfinance, hyphen, a study. That can also possible. So women empowerment through microfinance activities by the microfinance institutions through or a comparative study between private versus public sector banks, in that way also we may. So the thing is here, in what way you are going to consider or develop your topic, that should be in order. There it's very easy to understand what actually the topic says. That is very much important. The second one, chronological order. So you may have so many references or so many literature to consider for your study. So there from the last 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or 50 years or even in more than 100 years also, where you consider that idea, generation to generation, the idea may be different, the idea may be changed or the idea may be developed. So for that, we should have given order from the previous to present. So that should be in ascending order. So there only your literature review is perfect. Most of our scholars are not having like that mindset. They are putting everywhere. So first one is 2020, second one is 15, third one is 23 or 24, or another one is 1993, like that also they may put. It should not be right. We should have follow the chronological order. The third one, that is problem, cause, solution, order. Yes, first you have to develop the problem, then what it may be the cause or what it may be the reason. So then for that, in what way we are going to give the solution. Suppose if you have like that flow, then it's very easy to understand. So that is the thing. And another one, general to specific order. That can also, first you have to give the analogy, then you focus. So that is very easy to understand. So likewise, known to unknown order. This can also. So you know that research says known to unknown or unknown to known, which is right. Research means known to unknown or unknown to known. What is right?
Unknown to known.
Unknown to known or known to unknown, which is right? Unknown to known. Is it right?
Known to unknown.
Known to unknown. Otherwise, unknown to known, if it is not right, known to unknown. Why? Known to unknown?
Hello.
Why known to unknown?
So probably we'll be having only some idea regarding that. Then we are going to explore that.
It's very simple to say research, isn't it? Again and again means we know already something. Now we are trying to again or trying to research, is it not? So that's why known to unknown order must be, not unknown to known. Unknown to known means invention, is it not? So that's the same way comparison and yeah.
Sir, it will be known to unknown to again known.
Yeah, that is again, that will
After
continue.
after
Again and
research,
again.
we will come to know.
Again and again, research,
Yes.
research. So that's
Yes,
why
sir.
known to unknown. You fix it
Yes,
first
sir.
one. Then
Yes.
one more person continue also, you know.
Yes.
So
Unknown
it
to
is-
known
it
means
is-
again known to unknown. If
It
it
might
will
be like
continue. Yeah, that's why known to unknown is the research. Unknown to known is the search. Okay. So likewise, comparison and contrast order. Yes, that is very much important. Compare, where you compare the thing, so it should not be in general, it should be specific. So that's why it should be in contrast. So the likewise specific to general order. So these are the thing, inductive or deductive. The research process is different, but how you or where you or when you, that is very, very much important. So that is the thing here we are going to consider in terms of literature review to understand. So now we are having research gap.
Excuse me, sir. I have
Yeah,
a-
please.
Sir, you spoke about the orders, right? Now, chronological order, it is understood. But what
Ah.
about the rest of the orders? Do we have to follow the chronological order, even if we are following the rest of the orders?
I'm sorry, I'm not getting pardon.
Sir, you spoke about chronological order, right?
Okay, okay.
Okay, chronological order is understood that we have to start it from the early beginnings to the
Ah.
latest, correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Now, you spoke about other orders also, like problem, cause, solution order, general to specific order.
Hmm.
In that, do we have to follow the same year-wise format, or do we, we can shuffle it?
Yeah, no. You should not. There also you can, because you have to categorize there. You can categorize.
Okay.
You can classify. According to that, you should follow the same chronological way. Okay. So whichever the
Okay.
category, suppose if you considered, according to that, you have to follow there itself.
Okay. Okay.
Where
sir.
we developing that literature review, some extent only period wise or category wise or nation wise, that can also possible. Okay, that is the way here you should follow it. Hope you are.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Sir,
sir. Thank you so much.
sir, I've got a question, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, what is the sizable number of articles we should review in the research review of literature? That is my first question. And my second question is how many years we should take back forth, like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So how
That
many
is-
years we should take into consideration, and what is the sizable number of articles we should review, sir, for any research?
See, for this, normally, if your article or thesis or any project is related to secondary data, if it is secondary data, you should consider the minimum 10 years or 20 years like that. Suppose if it is highly related to financial data, there I think in some extent, it is not possible to get it 20 years, 30 years like that. There, most of the moment, 5 years is enough. In that way, we are thinking. But where we have any secondary database, most of the moment, minimum 10 years. Minimum 10 years is best because we have some cycle. We have some cycle. So business cycle or production cycle or financial cycle, like that we have. So for that, I think it is better to have 5 years, I think stages, 5 to 5. So for 10 years is, I think, very much important to consider. This is the one wing. That is where you have in secondary data. Suppose if your study is based on primary data, particularly primary data, there I think the time being is very difficulty because generation to generation, it may be a different. For example, you know that generation X, generation Y, generation Z, I think you may be aware of it, isn't it? So there,
Yes, sir.
you may consider whatever the work is highly focused on your issue, you can consider everything if it is available. That is the thing. There is no certain period is fixed for that primary data. But secondary data, we should follow some time. This is
And
my
number of
opinion.
articles, sir?
Number of articles where you think of, nowadays, I think you can get it any number, isn't it? So normally my practice is minimum 120, minimum 120.
Okay.
So that is, I think, better because most of our scholars are only 50 or 30 or 40. No, for developing any article, for that, I think maybe 40, 50 is enough in some extent, which is highly related to your area. So that is good. For research, for example, if you want to develop any thesis, I think it is better to have minimum 120, which is highly related to that. Likewise, you can focus on thesis also. You can focus on bulletins or magazines or periodicals. These are all you can refer. The thing is, first you have to obtain the correct or perfect knowledge related to your topic. There you are master in that. Whatever the angles or whatever the questions are, whatever the face it, you can face it. That is the thing first you have to prepare on that. Hope you are getting. Okay. So now we can think on research gap. So most of the movement research gap means our common understanding is where we go with the literature review. According to that, whatever the work is already carried out and whatever the work is not carried out, at the same time, we are going to consider whatever they suggested for scope for the further research, that we are going to consider in terms of research gap. Not like that. Most of the moment we have to understand where that gap is arised, on what, whether it is related to population or whether it is analysis or whether it is related to any implications or execution or whether it is related to any methodology or any concepts or any perspectives or any theory or any methodology like that. We have to think on that. Because, for example, if you go with the psychological issues, for example, public or people or workers or employee or even students or whatever, so there, that according to their generation or according to their age or according to their demographical status, the opinion may be totally different. So with that, first you have to understand the research gap or what actually the gap between one generation to another generation or one character to another character, like that you have to understand very clearly. Where you go for developing any research gap issue, first you have to highlight what type of research gap is happening on this issue, why that gap is arised, in what way that gap is not cleared, or in what way it's very difficult to, clear. So in that way, suppose if you understand very well, there I think it's very easy to define your research gap. Through this, you can consider or conceiving the research questions. The research questions, normally that gap, why, suppose if it is related to analysis, why, what for, in what way they have analyzed, what are the tools they have applied for that, whether they observed or whether they tested or whether they examined or whether they experimented, like that first you have to understand in what way they are going to analyze or experiment or observe. That is very much important. For example, some age, adolescent, we know that adolescent age we have there, the concept of love, LOVE, you know that there we are having puppy love. I hope you may be aware of puppy love, couple love, infatuation. All these are under the same concept, love. The concept is love. There we have puppy love, couple love, infatuation. Can you have the difference between these three? Are you aware of? Puppy love anta kelidira? Puppy andre nayi alla. ಅಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲವರು ಹಂಗ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೇನೋ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆ ತರದ್ದೇ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಾಯಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮನುಷ್ಯಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ? ಪಪ್ಪಿ ಲವ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ, ಕಬೋಲ್ಡ್ ಲವ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. ಕಪ್ ಬೋಲ್ಡ್ ಲವ್, ಊಟ ತಿಂಡಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ, ಕಾಫಿ ತಿಂಡಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ, ಏನೋ ಕೆಲವು ಅವರಿಂದ ಆಮಿಷಗಳಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಅದೊಂದು ಲವ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಪಪ್ಪಿ ಲವ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂಥರ ಏನೋ ಬಹಳ ಮುದ್ದು, ಅದೊಂಥರ ಏನೋ ಒಂದ್ ರೀತಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೂ ಬೇಡ, ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹಿಂಸೆನೆ ಆಗ್ಬೋದೇನೋ, ಈ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ಇನ್ನೊಂದಿದೆ ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಚುಯೇಷನ್, ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಲವ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಡೋಲಸೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಕಾಮನ್. PUC ಆ ಏಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಹುಡುಗರಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು,
ಅವ್ರು ಯಾಕೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿಸ್ತಿದ್ವಿ ಅಂತ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕೆ ಆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಾನು ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಈ ತರದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟ ಇದೆ. ಅದು ಯಾವ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ ಥಿಯರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ನೀವೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹುಡುಕಕ್ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟಿ ಟು ಡಿಫೈನ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಥಿಂಗ್. ದ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಅನ್ಸರ್ಟನಿಟಿ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ in the population which the investigator wants to resolve by making measurements on his study subjects. So here there is no shortage of questions as one leads to another. I'm already told you that we are having 5 W's and 1 H. Of course, the W's are splitting. The W's are increasing. The W's are different W's also we may find. So that is the thing we are going to consider. This is based on your literature review. This is based on your research gap, how you developed. That is the thing here you are going to understand. So the next we are going to consider developing research problem. Here, whatever the questions you have raised, through that you can develop the problem. But here you have to understand very clearly. Otherwise, it is not possible to develop the research problem. So that is the thing here I think you are going to understand. So then we are going to, up to now, up to research problem, or even you can defend one more content with this need for the study. Need for the study, that can also you have to defend in what way your research or your article development or your project is useful or why it is significant, in what way it is needed. That is the thing you are going to highlight. So up to this process, this is preliminary, this is primary. So now you are going to start your work. This is the, up to now you have prepared for your research work. Here afterwards you are going to start the work. Start the work means through the research objectives. Normally here we have 2 types of objectives. One is general objective, another one is specific objective. You know the general and specific. So by that objectives you are going to develop hypothesis. Where you go for developing objectives, normally first we have to consider, suppose if it is project work, the 2 for students, there you can start with to study, to understand, to know, like that is good. But for a teacher or for academician, it should not be, because I'm already told you that research means known to unknown. So if you known already, then why you are going to say study or understand or known? That should not be. So that is the thing, you should avoid it. First you have to start with to analyze, to examine, to evaluate, to test, to assess, to review, then to identify, then you can develop some recommendations or suggestions or prescriptions. That is the thing we have to consider in the objectives. So there only it is having very good flow. Suppose if you are having in an order, so that is also wrong. That's why you should go with to analyze. First you have to analyze the existing practices or any determinants or any factors. First you have to analyze the thing. There you may find some deviations or find some not possible. So that is the thing. First you have to, why it is not possible, why these factors are important in that way, or why this factor is not like that in that way. You can evaluate or examine or test or assess. Thus, that is the thing you can consider. By having it, you may identify something. Then on that, you may develop some suitable recommendations or suggestions or any prescriptions. Like that, you can consider. So this is the thing you are going to focus under research objectives. Likewise, where you develop the objectives, according to that, you may have, because objectives, that based on research questions. That research questions now you are going to incorporate through the, objective. So that objective, every objective maybe has some solution, because every questions maybe has some solutions. That solution, suppose you may think in advance, you may determine in advance, you can assume, you can intuition, you can hunch. So that is the thing here you consider. So for that, you should focus on these 6 factors. That is 5W and 1H. So there only it is possible to have some tentative ideas to solve or to reach. So that is the thing here. You are going to develop the hypothesis. Hypothesis means an educated guess or a tentative point of view or a proposition not as tested or a preliminary explanation or a preliminary postulate. So these are the things you should have in your mind. There only it is possible to develop a right assumption or a right guess or right intuition or tentative idea. So that is the thing. Basis, what actually we are going to consider for this hypothesis. So the basis is individual experience, socio-cultural background, business ethics, economic events, technically know-how, environmental or ecology based. Whatever you are going to develop an assumption or any hypothesis, most of the movement, it should have some experience or it should have some background or it should have some ethics or any particular experiences related with economic or cultural or technological or social, even environmental or even in legal. So these are the things we are going to consider for developing our hypothesis. With that view, you can think on that. So just one testing of hypothesis. What actually your assumption on this slide or a picture? What it may be the assumption of you related with the picture? Any idea? What is this?
That proof
One
is
person is
actually
being
cornering
harassed.
it.
One person is harassed.
One person is being
Yes.
beaten up by
Or
so many
people are
people.
enjoying.
And one person
Is it
is
exploitation?
being
Maybe this is only negative side, positive side.
Maybe one person fall down, they're trying to.
Proper analysis is not done.
No, they are hitting
Yeah,
him.
someone says enjoying.
Proper analysis of the situation is not done. We do not
Not
know
done.
why is he beaten up.
Why not? It may be a dance.
They are dancing, yeah.
Yeah, that can also.
Sir,
you can
it
think
may
on,
be
you know.
birthday bashes also.
Yeah. That's why I just asked you, no, why not? It is positive thing. It may
Birthday
be a
bashes.
birthday celebration. It may be a dance, or it may be an enjoyment, or he may be a very utter laugh, isn't it? He may be a utter ecstasy. At that moment, he fallen down and ಒದ್ದಾಡ್ತಿರ್ಬೋದಲ್ವಾ ಬಿದ್ದು ನಗ್ತಾ ನಗ್ತಾ ಹೌದಲ್ವಾ?
Yes, sir.
ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಈಗ ಕೆಲವರು ನಗವ್ರು ಇರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ನಗವ್ರು ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಗಲ್ಲ, ಮಲಿಕೊಂಡೆ ನಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಹೌದಲ್ವಾ? ನಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಅಳತೆನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ಲಿಪ್ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಂದ ಬಾಡಿ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ವರ್ಗೂ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ನಗು, ಹೌದಾ? ಆ ತರಾನೇ ಯಾಕೆ ಅನ್ಕೋಬಾರ್ದು ನೀವು? ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬಾ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದಾರೆ, ನಗ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಡ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ. ನೋಡಿ ಆ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ನೋಡಿ. ಹುಡುಗಿ ಇದಾಳ ಅಲ್ಲಿ?
ಹೌದು ಸರ್.
ಇದಾಳ? ಕಾಣುತ್ತ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಇದಾಳಲ್ವಾ?
Yes, sir.
ಹುಡುಗಿ ಇದಾಳೆ ನೋಡಿ. ಅವಳ ಆ ಭಂಗಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಡ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದಲ್ವಾ? ಹೊಡಿಯೋದಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಅವಳ ಜುಟ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಕೆದರ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಅವಳು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅಳಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಲ್ವಾ? This is the reason in what way we are going to develop the hypothesis. Alva? So that is the thing you can consider it in this way. So methodology, of course, you may be known that research methodology, there it normally start with in some issues. So what type of study you are going to do, that is you are going to explain. So then in what way the problem you have identified, or in what way you have developed your objectives, what are the hypotheses. So for that, in what way you need the data, what type of data you should be required, whether it is primary or secondary. So how we are going to collect that data, in what way the sampling techniques you are going to apply, used or apply. So how you are going to collect it, whether through interviews or questionnaire or observation or any experiment or any situational observations. These are the things you are going to consider at that moment. In what way you are going to analyze your data. So what type of tool you are going to apply. Suppose if you find relations or if you find any difference, what are the tools and techniques you are going to apply for data analysis. So that is the thing here we are going to consider under research methodology. Here also you have to consider that 5 Ws and 1 H is very much important. So what type of tool or how you are going to apply, why we need it, or where you are going to apply, and who is responsible for this. In that way you are going to consider. So this is the thing we may consider under research methodology. So there, I think you know that you may know a little bit idea on sample design. So there are so many types of sampling. If I want to explain all the things, I think it takes some more time for that. Now, I will come to finishing stage. In what way we have to develop our research article? What is that? In what way? That is normally we can consider. So I'm already told you that the format is the first slide itself. First, we have to start with the introduction. But most of the moment, title is first, abstract is the next. Then rationality, I mean introduction, in what way you are going to give that. So most of the moment, introduction must be covered, why the topic is very much important, why it is required, and what is its scope, where that is, it is highly influencing. In that way, first you have to explain. So there, you have to develop that aim or objective or purpose. Then you have to consider objectives. The hypothesis that is based on your research questions. Then in what way you are going to analyze that information through under which methodology, data collection, data analysis. So these are the things you are going to consider. But even here also we may have some mistakes where we go for writing the proposal. So the first one is failure to provide the proper context to frame the research questions. Yes, most of the moment we are having some lapse under this issue. So likewise, failure to delimit the boundary conditions for your research, failure to cite the landmark studies, failure to accurately present the theoretical and empirical contributions by other researchers, failure to stay focused on research questions, failure to develop a coherent and persuasive argument for the proposed research, too much detail on minor issues but not enough detail on major issues, too much rambling, confusing, going all over the map without a clear sense of direction, too many citations lapses and incorrect references, too long or too short, failing to follow APA or MLA style, sloping writing. So these are all, most of the moment we are, having some mistakes. So suppose if you clarify and clear with this, then definitely you can write a very good research article or research thesis or any project also. So with this, I think it is enough to communicate that informations for you to, in some extent, to give some contributions to our academic field. So I hope everyone may be understood in some extent. I thank you for spending your time with me. For that, really, I am very grateful to you. Thank you very much.